This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Thursday, March 5th. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the Supreme Court takes up a major abortion case. The issue, the power of states to regulate abortion clinics. And Chief Justice John Roberts issuing a rare rebuke of a Senate Democrat, Chuck Schumer, after his controversial remarks against President Donald Trump's Supreme Court appointees outside the court during that abortion case. The coronavirus still spreading in the United States, but is the risk of most Americans actually getting the disease low? And is fear a bigger concern than the virus itself? And a straightforward and hopeful message from Jeopardy host Alex Trebek as he marked his first year of survival with pancreatic cancer. All those stories and much more ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We're going to begin this half hour with the Supreme Court hearing arguments on a key case Wednesday on the important question of how much states can regulate abortion providers. As Paul Strand now reports, it was all about whether abortion doctors can be required to have admitting privileges at a nearby hospital in case of an emergency.
The court was swamped with hundreds of activists for this first major abortion-related case the court's taken up in years.
The big issue here is whether Louisiana can mandate that its abortion doctors have admitting privileges for their patients at a local hospital.
Every other practitioner in Louisiana is held to that same standard, and abortion doctors should be held to that same standard.
Those representing the abortion clinics say that's not really necessary because abortion is such a safe procedure.
Every major medical organization in the United States agrees that these laws do nothing whatsoever for health and safety.
But the other side says that's the main issue because women's safety is on the line.
States should be able to prioritize health and safety over the business interests of the abortion industry.
Abortion shouldn't be given a pass. It should be held to the exact same standards as other outpatient surgical facilities.
This case involved abortion providers like this woman and her clinic. Louisiana argued they're the last people who should be arguing against the safety of women in those clinics.
It's really like the fox guarding the hen house because there's a real conflict of interest.
Should the abortion industry have the right to challenge legitimate, common sense state health and safety regulations when their interests are directly opposed to the women whose health is protected by those statutes?
We haven't seen one woman come forward challenging this law and saying she doesn't want this health and safety protection.
The interesting thing to the casual observer is this case looks like a rerun of the last big abortion case the court heard. In 2016, it ruled that Texas abortion doctors did not have to have admitting privileges to a local hospital.
Why are we back here again just 4 years after the court declared that this very same law was unconstitutional in Texas?
The big difference now, though, is 2 Trump appointees to the high court, which may have, for the first time in decades, given it a pro-life majority. We'll likely find out when the court rules on this case, probably sometime in June. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the Supreme Court.
Chief Justice John Roberts rebuked Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer for his attacks on President Donald Trump's Supreme Court appointees Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh at a rally outside the high court while the Louisiana case was being argued inside. Here is what Schumer said.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
In response, Justice Roberts said in a statement, justices know that criticism comes with the territory, but threatening statements of this sort from the highest levels of government are not only inappropriate, they are dangerous. And President Trump responded on Twitter, there can be few things worse in a civilized, law-abiding nation than a United States senator openly and for all to see and hear threatening the Supreme Court or its justices. This is what Chuck Schumer did. He must pay a severe price for this. I want to turn now to the coronavirus, the death toll rising in the United States. Overnight, another fatality confirmed, bringing the total number to 11. CBN's Jenna Browder has this story now from Washington.
This is the first death reported in California and the first outside of Washington state as the coronavirus continues its spread across the United States. Health officials revealing the man was likely exposed on a cruise to Mexico that returned last month. California officials are now trying to track down other passengers. Testing kits are being flown aboard the same ship after new passengers complained of flu-like symptoms.
The ship will not come on shore until we appropriately assess the passengers.
Governor Gavin Newsom declaring a state of emergency as the number of California cases shoots to at least 54, the most in the country. Los Angeles County also declaring a local emergency.
We need every tool at our disposal to make sure we're ready to support any coronavirus patients who are diagnosed and to prevent any further spread.
In New York, hundreds are under self-quarantine after family members and neighbors of a victim tested positive. Nationwide, that brings the total number of cases to more than 150 in 17 states and 11 confirmed deaths. Globally, the death rate is much higher. More than 95,000 people in at least 80 countries have been infected. The death toll over 3,200. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., the House has approved $8 billion in funding to fight the disease, including $3 billion for developing treatments. The bill now goes to the Senate, where it's expected to pass today. And the CDC is expanding its guidelines on testing, allowing more people to get tested. Vice President Pence trying to reassure Americans.
If you are a healthy American, the risk of contracting the coronavirus remains low.
Pence says more than 1.5 million testing kits are being shipped across the country. Today, he and members of his team will travel to Washington State, the epicenter of the outbreak in the U.S., to meet with Governor Jay Inslee and health officials to discuss the response. In Washington, D.C., Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Our CBN News health reporter Lori Johnson joins us now with more. So is the vice president right in terms of the low risk for Americans getting the coronavirus?
Yesterday afternoon, the White House Coronavirus Task Force held a news conference, and a representative from the CDC reiterated that, yes, for most Americans, the risk is low, but it is elevated to relatively low, as they said, for places where there is community spread, and there is an elevated risk for healthcare workers who are treating COVID-19 patients, for people who have come into direct contact with COVID-19 cases, and also for people who are returning from other countries where there are outbreaks.
Gotcha. We are hearing more about the growing number of cases, but are most of them mild?
Again, yesterday at the news conference, the task force addressed this issue, and they said, if you catch this virus, 80% of the people will have a mild case. The people we worry about, the people we really need to focus on, are that 20% who are at high risk of having some problems, even death. And these are people who are elderly and also people who have underlying health conditions. For example, people who aren't elderly but who recently went through chemotherapy treatment, which lowers your immune response.
Now, the World Health Organization certainly admits that the coronavirus is a deadly threat, but also suggests that fear and panic are possibly more dangerous. You agree there?
Absolutely, 100%. And we who are followers of Jesus know that he has commanded us not to worry. And so we need to really tamp down the fear for two reasons. Number one, it's actually really bad for your health. Fear is a form of stress, and we know stress lowers our immune response. Also, yesterday at the news conference, health officials warned the general public against being so afraid that they buy up all the face masks, because those face masks are needed for healthcare workers. I'm talking about the surgical masks and the N95 masks.
So what should people be doing to protect themselves if they shouldn't go out and buy masks and so forth? What should they be doing?
That's a great question. And we actually compiled a fact sheet that has all the information about the coronavirus and what people need to know about it. And this is available on the CBN News website for download, and people can have it mailed to them if they prefer.
Good deal. Thank you, Lori. CBN health reporter Lori Johnson, keeping us informed. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Still ahead, the Hispanic vote is likely to be a key factor in this year's presidential election. We're going to take a look at who they've been choosing in the Democratic race and what President Donald Trump and Republicans must do to win over more Hispanic voters. That story's coming up next.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Efrem Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
An NPR poll shows Bernie Sanders fared better than Joe Biden in winning Hispanic votes in 2 states in Super Tuesday with the country's biggest Hispanic population. 49% of Hispanic voters in California chose Sanders compared to Biden's 19%. Biden did better in Texas, but Sanders still won more Hispanic votes in the Lone Star State, 42% to Biden's 24%. On this week's episode of The Global Lane, Julio Rivera, editorial director for thereactionarytimes.com, explains why Hispanic Americans are attracted to Democrats, Sanders and Biden. He also tells us what President Trump and the Republicans need to do to win more Hispanic votes.
In the case of Joe Biden, is that there's a lot of name recognition there. Obviously he was Barack Obama's vice president. He was on the Beltway now for the better part of the last 50 years. But what has he really done? What has been his signature piece of legislation that he's either written or sponsored that was ever had really a positive effect for the Hispanic community? I mean, I'm at a loss to try to figure out what that is. And in terms of Bernie Sanders, I mean, you're talking about somebody who romanticizes the Cuban Revolution and somebody who honeymooned out in the Soviet Union. And, people of Hispanic descent, especially those from South America, know just exactly what the dangers of socialism are. And I think that they're the last people that really want to see that those types of policies ever come to America. And even more to the point, when you talk about the fact about the whole immigration issue, there's been so many people who have suffered through bad policies, that have been implemented in South America and have fought and have risked everything and, done everything they had to do to get to America. And so many people did it the right way, and they went through legal channels. And I think that they resent a lot of, the Democrats' positions on, basically illegal residents and, everything that they are able to get in America, basically shirking the rules and skipping the line and, putting themselves at the front and just walking into America.
And many African Americans are, of course, leaving the Democratic Party in the walk-away movement. Often pro-family policies have made the difference there. So how about for Hispanic Americans?
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, I think that Hispanics tend to be social conservatives, which is something that the Democrats try to play down. But the fact of the matter is many of them are Catholic. Many of them are pro-life. They don't believe in the whole abortion on demand movement. They believe in traditional marriage. They believe in traditional values, quite frankly. And, the Democrat Party right now tries to pander to every little, minor micro group out there that, has different sets of beliefs. They're pushing this whole transgenderism thing. They're the ones that were at the forefront of the gay marriage movement. And these are values that just don't correspond with what Hispanics in America and Hispanics abroad really believe in.
And how important is abortion and the right to life issue?
Oh, it is very important. I know the Hispanics, if you get out of New York City, if you get out of the coastal areas where there's just a lot of extreme liberalism in general, and you talk to, the average Hispanic person, the average Hispanic person, detests the idea of abortion, and especially abortion on demand. They don't want to be, as legal American taxpayers. They don't want their tax money going towards fundings, something that they abhor, something that's a sin, something that, indirectly, a lot of them feel indirectly that the government's basically forcing them to, become a part of this whole abortion on demand system. I mean, you have, the federal government, and even, unfortunately, Trump's signed some bills that has had some Planned Parenthood funding in there. And that's something I think that the conservatives, the real conservatives that are running for the House and running for the Senate, the legislators, the ones that craft these bills, have to really get on that and make sure that we're not providing any funding, any government funding towards abortion any longer.
And what advice would you give, Julio, to this president and Republicans to win over Hispanic voters in November?
Don't pander to them. The policies that they've come up with, the deregulatory measures, the lower taxes, all of those things play better for Hispanics who are entrepreneurial. They want to go into private business in America, and they want to be profitable, and they don't want to be gouged by the IRS, and they don't want to have all this regulatory red tape to try to go through to turn a profit in this country. So, the policies of the Republican Party aren't necessarily geared towards any subsection of people. It's basically, anybody that's in this country has the opportunity to be fruitful, be successful, and prosper under the policies of the Republican Party. It's not, we're going to make special rules for these people, we're going to make special rules for these people, we're going to build, 68 different bathrooms for everybody who identifies as all these other, random genders. The Republican Party is the party of Americans, and Americans come in all colors, all sexes, all religions, and it's about time that, Americans across the board subscribe to the idea that one set of rules that works best for everyone, which is really the way of the Republican Party, is best for America.
Okay, Julio Rivera, editorial director for ReactionaryTimes.com. Thank you for providing those insights.
Thank you so much, Gary.
And you can see more important issues in today's news on the Global Name tonight at 9:30 Eastern. You can find that on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, they've been called one of the lost tribes of Israel, Jews from Ethiopia, and now they are coming home. We're going to take a look at the difficulties they face in building new lives in the Holy Land right after this break. Stay with us.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Ethiopian Jews have been called one of the lost tribes of Israel. Thousands, though, are returning to their ancestral home, but unfortunately they face daunting challenges in building new lives in the Promised Land. CBN's Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell brings us the story from Jerusalem.
The Netflix movie Red Sea Diving Resort tells the real-life story of how Mossad, Israel's secret service, started smuggling thousands of Ethiopian Jews safely into Israel 40 years ago. Now, 2 generations later, more than 90,000 Ethiopian Jews live here. Many see themselves as descendants of the ancient Hebrew tribe of Dan. Each year, many of them celebrate the Sigd, an ancient holiday marking how God brought them to Israel. But these Ethiopian Jews face major challenges integrating into Israeli society. That's where Karen Hanan Ainor, or KHA, comes in. It's an organization committed to help young Ethiopians make the leap into higher education.
Everything starts in education. We're here to just push and push and push to get people into higher education and this way have a big impact on their own community.
For 26 years, the group has provided them more than 4,000 scholarships across 50 fields of education.
It helps me financially. I'm doing my second degree in MBA, and it's very expensive, unfortunately.
Yaakov plans to use her degree to take her own leap of faith.
To start up a business of myself. Right now I'm quality assurance. I'm consult for biotech field for startup companies. I want to do it by myself.
In Israel, education opens doors.
Education is the key to integrate and to involve in every corner in every profession in Israel.
Dr. Siga Malaku received one of the first scholarships presented and now leads the KHA.
In Israeli society, to integrate if you are not educated, and especially you are from Ethiopia and our skin color and everything, if you don't have a formal education and the professionally, it's not easy to integrate. But by the way, this kind of scholarship gives opportunity not for only first generation, also second generation too.
Malaku is seeing the impact from one generation to another.
We're trying to push forward a generation that sometimes needs a little bit of help in order to complete a very important thing that they have started.
Those behind KHA will continue to push generations forward in the hope one day their scholarships won't be needed. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up, Jeopardy host Alex Trebek gives an honest update about the first year of his battle against pancreatic cancer, talking about the importance of the support from his wife, his faith in God, and millions of prayers said for him. We're going to hear from him when we come back. Stay with us.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network. featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
And welcome back. Alex Trebek shared an honest and hopeful health update Wednesday, talking of his struggles, his faith in God, and thanking his wife and those who have stood with him as he marked the one-year anniversary of his diagnosis with pancreatic cancer. The 79-year-old Trebek started off by pointing out the one-year survival rate for pancreatic cancer was 18%, before talking about what the past year has really been like.
Now, I'd be lying if I said the journey had been an easy one. There were some good days, but a lot of not-so-good days. I joked with friends that the cancer won't kill me, the chemo treatments will. There were moments of great pain, days when certain bodily functions no longer functioned, and sudden massive attacks of great depression that made me wonder if it really was worth fighting on. But I brushed that aside quickly because that would have been a massive betrayal, a betrayal of my wife and soulmate Jean, who has given her all to help me survive. It would have been a betrayal of other cancer patients who have looked to me as an inspiration and a cheerleader of sorts of the value of living and hope. And it would certainly have been a betrayal of my faith in God and the millions of prayers that have been said on my behalf.
The longtime host of Jeopardy added his oncologist recently told him that even though the two-year survival rate is only 7%, he was certain they would be celebrating Trebek's second anniversary of survival from 1 year from now. And Trebek said if he and others involved in the same situation take things one day at a time with a positive attitude, anything is possible. Remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Every day should be a day of thanksgiving. With that, it is time for your Thursday Thankful. I trust you will join me in this prayer of gratitude today. God, thank you for a new day, new mercies, and continued life. Opening my eyes is reason enough to be thankful. With that word, I encourage you to make today a thankful Thursday. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We would love to know, what do you think about the stories you've seen here today? You can email us. The address is right there on your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a thankful Thursday. We'll see you back here same time tomorrow, everybody. Goodbye and God bless.